Okay, so after having woven my first twill on the rigid Heddle loom based on the blog post by Ashford, I wanted to figure out how and why twill works on a rigid Heddle loom. I have about a year of experience weaving on a rigid Heddle, but all of that has been just plain weave, tabby weave, with colorway, so vertical stripes, horizontal stripes, and a bit of hand picking a pattern with knitting needles and then using that as my temporary shaft for just like a border of 6 to 14 threads, which takes a lot of time but is very pretty if you only have one reed and do want to do something special. Pick up sticks or just knitting needles for a few lines of pattern can be very pretty. But now that I have two Heddles, I wanted to try Twill on rigid Heddle loom based on this blog post. Ashford has the threading sequence, so 211011 for the back reed and 112110 for the front reed, infinitely repeating along the length of your Heddle depending on how long or how wide you want your project to be. And then the weaving sequence is also in the blog post. Back reed up, front reed up, both reeds in the down position, and that creates a twill. If you want to change the direction of that twill, instead of going right leaning, you want it to go left leaning, you reverse the pattern on the last one you woven. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you go after your last three. This is the pivot point. You pivot to row 2, then row 1. So instead of back up, front up, both down, back up, front up, both down, after your last both down in the sequence that you want to do, you start by going front up, back up, down, repeating until you're ending once again in the back up position, and then from there on onwards bouncing back to the original pattern, front up, both down, back up, front up, both down. Now, why does it work with this threading sequence? Let's go into Excel and let's visualize that. So we had 211011 and 112110. If you have your front reed up or your back reed up, the threads that are in the holes of the reed will be warp facing. The ones that are in slots will be weft facing. When you have both in the down position, the threads that are in a slot on both reeds will be facing upwards, and a thread that is in a hole on either the front or the back will be down the shed and thus will be weft facing. For just back up and front up, that's pretty easy. In the back reed upwards, 2 in a slot, which means this will be weft facing for 2 threads in width. So 1 thread, 2 threads. Then the next one is in a hole, which means it will be warp facing. Then we have 1 in a slot, no thread in the hole position, which means that the next thread in this pick will just be the slot that was here, and then 1 in the high position or in the hole position, which means it will be warp facing. We do the same exact thing for the front reed in the up position. So we have 1 in a slot, 1 in a hole, 2 in a slot, 1 in a hole, and 1 in a slot and none in a hole. So we have 1 in a slot, 1 in a hole, 2 in a slot, 1 in a hole, 1 in a slot. Those in the slot position will be weft facing once again, and the other 2 will be warp facing. Now, what happens if you have them both in down position? As I already said, you have those that are in only a slot position on both, those will come to the top of your shed, and everything that has a hole connected to it in either of the two sheds will go down or below your shed, and your weft thread will go over it and thus will be weft facing. The ones that are in a slot in both will be warp facing. So let's take this first set of two in the back reed. It splits in a slot and in a hole. The left thread here is in a slot on both positions and will be warp facing. The second thread that comes from this pair will be in a hole on either of the two reeds, and thus the thread going over there will be weft facing. Same goes for here. We have another pair of two threads combining into one slot in the front reed in this case. It was the opposite earlier. The left one is in a hole and in a slot. So this one will be weft facing. But then the second one of this combination is a slot, and thus will be warp facing. Then we have this one, which is the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth thread in the pattern. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is in a hole in one reed and then connects to this slot. It's a bit hard to visualize just seeing it on Excel, but this diagram should help. That the one in the front reed that is in the second hole in the pattern, let's say, is going to the fifth slot in the back reed, but it's a hole and a slot, so that means that this one will be weft facing. And the same goes for the last one. This orange thread is going from a slot into a hole, which means, once again, it's not a slot in both reeds. It will be weft facing. And this is actually the entire pattern. You can repeat it left to right, like this, and it will create a twill. If you also continue it down along the length of your warp. Now this creates a twill going in one direction. And like Ashford stated, if you flip the direction or swap the direction of your thread link, so instead of back up, front up, both down, you go both down, front up, back up, you change the direction of the twill. So this was back, front, down, back, front, down. Now if we want to swap that direction, that means that we would come down the pivot point, front, back, down, front, back. Just for ease of use, I'm going to copy paste the front reed ups in their position, the back reed up in their position, and then do the same with the final down position, and then you create an arrow. Depending on how many repeats before turning, you get wider arrows or smaller arrows. But since this is where your reed is, this is also your front beam, which means that the arrows are pointing left or right, depending on where in the swap you are, perpendicular to your front beam. They're not pointing upwards from your front beam, they're pointing left or right, which means that here will be the selvage. If you want your arrows pointing upwards in a certain project, be it a shawl or a towel or anything, you need to make sure that this is the actual bottom of your piece, because this will become the side if you follow this pattern. There are, of course, solutions to that, and it took me a bit of brain power to figure it out, but I finally figured it out. If you continue this pattern on, you get this in a slice of 3. Just going to take a slice of 3 out of this pattern. You can also take a slice of 6. I took a slice of 3 because it's an infinitely repeating pattern of 3 moves. Front read up, back read up, both down. So I figured 3 would be enough. And then we get this here pattern. Oh, I need to copy it correctly, of course. Oh, wait, I know why. This slice through is from an earlier pattern with more repeats. It's from, nope, this one. So this one has 5 repeats before I swap the angle, and this cutout is from that same pattern, 5 before it swaps the angle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 5th repeat it changes directions. This end bit is just from cutting off the pattern too early or too late in the sequence. Doesn't really change. But if you turn that 90 degrees, you get this here. And these squiggles look oddly familiar, don't they? This pattern is exactly the same up until here. Everything past this point is different. So we delete this. This is exactly the same. So we need to figure out where this part is coming from. Oh, made a mistake. It's up until here. That is exactly the same. Because if you remember, 6 wide, 3 down is our pattern piece. That is 1 repeat of the pattern. 2 repeats of the pattern becomes this first half of the sequence. So how about this later part? It's just the mirrored image of the previous one. So what if we put them side by side? This is a pattern that we already know with the thread count that Ashford provided. And this is the one we achieve from 90-degree flipping our zigzag pattern by alternating the pattern to the front. So back up, front up, both down, and then flipping it to both down, front up, back up. This is that exact point that creates in the left to right or right to left direction from the original pattern. So we can just count it out. We have 1 in a slot because it is left facing. So we can put 1 in the slot position. Then we want 1 in the hole position because we want 1 warp facing. Okay, 1 in the hole position. Then we have 2 in a slot position. As we've seen in the original pattern, that can be achieved in 2 ways. Either slot, none in the hole slot, or 2 in 1 slot. Since we need this one here to be high, that means we had 1 slot, 1 hole, and then after whatever is in slots, we need a high position, we need a hole. That dictates that this is just 2 in 1 slot. And then after that high position, we need another one in a slot, which is this one. And then the last hole will have nothing. Then for the front read up, we do a similar thing. We need 2 in a slot, which is these. Okay, 2 in a slot. Easiest to start. Just figure out, okay, we probably want 2 in a slot. Then we want a high position. Okay, so the next hole will get 1 thread. Then we once again need 2 in a slot position, but we need to end on a high. So the last thread in our 6 needs to be high. We have either this one or this one that can be high. 2, 1, 0, 0 doesn't really work because it kind of, I wanted to resemble the pattern that Ashford uses. So I figured, okay, this will be 1, 0, 1 to create this slot here of 2 weft facing, and then 1 in the hole position to create this one. And then just like the first pattern, we can combine them both in the down position. Okay, this one here is a straight arrow from slot to slot, and this one here is a straight arrow from a slot to a slot. So that means the first and the fourth thread will be in high positions when both are down, and all the other ones are curved from a slot to a hole or a hole to a slot. They will be weft facing, and we have our building block. We have the building block Ashford already provided, and we have somewhat of the mirrored version. It's not fully mirrored because mirrored would be 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, and it's 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 0. It is in fact the one that was on the front beam on that original pattern became the back beam in this one, and vice versa. Why exactly that is, I'm not entirely sure of, so if anybody of you knows, please tell me. But now that we have these 2 building blocks, we can start playing around with them. We can, like it was before, back, front, double, or double down position. We can combine these 2 together, just as is, and then repeat the pattern from left to right and right to left. I'm only gonna do 2 wide, and then like this. And then we create our arrows pointing upward, this direction pointing downward here. As you can see, we can just repeat this block, repeat it, and then we have arrows pointing in the direction of our front beam. This is our front beam. Of course, Excel is going to mess with us, but that's not too bad, easily fixed. And just combine this one. This is our front beam, and now our arrows, instead of the front beam being here and arrows pointing left to right, right to left, all of a sudden our arrows are pointing upwards and downwards, upwards and downwards. This is useful if the length of your project is wider than the width of your loom. It's a bit more tedious with warping because you need to repeat this entire sequence instead of just repeating this one and then swapping your threadling. But it also gives a whole lot more variety to play with, because we had this piece of 6 here that we can put over here again. It was back up, front up, down. Now what happens if we do another back up, front up, down? Just repeat this once. And then all of a sudden, reverse that order. So front, back, down, front, back, down. Let's see if we need the last one. We can, just as I did before, swap in everything in the front position, swap in everything in the backup position, and then swap in everything in the both down position, and all of a sudden we have a nested diamond. Now, of course, we started with a B. We started with both up, with the back one up, I'm sorry. So if we want to repeat this pattern, our pivot point once again needs to be that back, because we pivoted once around the double down. So the next sequence we want to pivot at is at the both down position, like this. And then this, of course, becomes front up, and this becomes both down. And if we swap this also along the length of our reed, we get a nice inverted nested diamond with one in the middle, plus in the middle, one in the middle, plus in the middle, infinitely repeating as a nice pattern. We can, of course, also play with it a bit differently. Take our building blocks once again. This is a building block. Put it here. And this is a building block. Let's put it here for now, just so we have it in hand. If we repeat this one twice, for example, and this one twice, do this just like we did for this nested diamond. Repeat this twice and then reverse it. So we had back up, front up, both down, back up, front up, both down. Reverse it to front up, back up, both down, front up, back up. Once again, substitute in all the treadling orders. So everywhere that has double down, and then everywhere that has the back read up, we get, similar to here, a nested diamond, but accommodated with two borders around it. We can infinitely scale this one as well. Scale it to the left and scale it to the bottom. Oh, let's do it like this then. Then we once again create the pattern with rows, because this is a row of one in the middle and a row of pluses in the middle, but between the diamond with one in the middle and the plus in the middle, we have these two borders separating them out. We can also do this. We need 3, 6, 9, 12. I think. And then going down here. This was our... No, wait. Yeah, it was base pattern of the one twice, so 2 holes, 2 holes, and then this one. So this 12 white, so this is 12, and then 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. 3 down. This was our base pattern before we started flipping and doing anything to it. Previously we only did 1 repeat down, but we could also, for example, do 3 repeats before we start flipping things around. Then we had back, front, double, back, front, double, back, front, double, and start flipping this around so it becomes front, back, double, front, back, double, front, back. I think that's equal, yeah. Then substitute in all of these. Once again, back, back, back up, front up, front up, front up, and then down up, down up. You just get a way bigger nested diamond before the pattern starts to do anything else. And once again, swap it in place, and you have even more spaces between all your nested diamonds. This is very pretty, this is very calm and understated, might work for some subtle effects in a pattern. This is a very in-your-face pattern, but also a very pretty pattern. And you can just mix and match the threadling, the repeats to get all kinds of nested diamond looks. This is, if you have this one, this is more squiggles between them in this direction. And if you repeat downwards, then you get more squiggles between them in the other direction. So this is this one, but also downwards. We could do a similar thing with this pattern. Go here. Wait. Yeah. We need 1 repeat, 2 repeat of this one, and then 1 repeat. So 2 holes, 2 holes. This is 2 repeats of the first pattern, and then 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, and 3 down. If we were to play with this one, and instead of this, we can repeat this one 3 times, for example, before we start swapping it around. So this was back, front, down, back, front, down, back, front, down. That will become front, back, down, front, back, down. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9. Like this. Substitute in, once again, all the same ones. So here, here, and here. All the front ones here, here, here. And all the down ones here and here. Then we can repeat this one to the right. It is mixing in with the other one, so for ease of use, let's just move it left one, and then hope they are no longer touching. They are still touching. Sigh. Then we'll move this one, all of these, a bit to the right, just for ease of use, and repeat this one. Is this correct? I am unsure. I have one too many repeats, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Let's see. Nope, things are going even more south. Something went wrong with the pattern, but that's how things can go. So let's try and restart that. Let's take these two separate entities like this. Place this one a bit here for now. Have this one repeating twice, like we did before. Then place this one in here. Repeat this one twice as well. And I think that is the same now as this one. Let's remove all the borders. It is not. This is a 1 repeat pattern. Whoops. Once again, it's late and I'm just recording continuously to play with patterns and share it with all of you. So let's just repeat this one now. Repeat this one 3 times downwards here, and then start flipping it around. So all the fronts, 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 all the downs, 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 and all the backs, back, back, back. No, it is correct. It was correct the first time, I think. Doesn't really matter too much. No, it wasn't correct the first time. It is correct now. But if you repeat this one infinitely down in the correct placements, preferably, then you can get this, and they are still only 1 divided in this direction, but they have multiple divides in the other direction compared to this one. Here they are just touching, here there are divides, here there are multiple divides in this direction, less in this direction, and you can mix and match. Repeat leftwards, repeat downwards as many times as you want to create the pattern that you wish to create. I know I was mumbling around the end, towards the end, but I hope it does help some people doing more with this pattern and getting down to the bottom of that pattern provided by Ashford and playing with it in different directions.